But yeah, so if you want to join me on YouTube, please go ahead and do so. Okay, bingo. It looks like we are set up on YouTube. Okay, YouTube, I'm about to come on live now. And here we go. And of course, I'm sharing that screen right there. Let's talk about the worst groups to travel for the 2026 World Cup. Again, I am live streaming this information on YouTube. If you want to join me on YouTube, and then that way you have your phone free for other things, go right ahead and do so. TikTok, unfortunately, is just not really working for me. I did have a restriction placed on me yesterday because I was talking about immigration. And someone must have gotten pissed off that I was talking about it, and they reported me for fake engagement, which is wild to say the least. But here we are, mi gente. ¿Cómo está? ¿Cómo están? So, on today's show, let's talk about the worst groups to travel for, at least in my opinion, for the 2026 World Cup. If you want to see the list of the groups, it is up on my YouTube live stream right now, okay? So you want to go ahead and check me out on YouTube, you can go ahead and do so. Bingo, we got 6 people right off the bat. Okay, so even though we do not know where the teams are playing in 2026, it is still possible for us to at least know, okay, we can still at least see where these teams are playing, okay? Potentially where they're playing, okay? And when the draw is happening, on the day of the draw, which might be on a Saturday, might be on a Sunday, okay? Which means at least if it's done on the weekend, you at least have the 24 hours right after to book your travel. If it's on a Sunday, I would say take the Monday off, okay? So you're ready to book your travel. But let's take a look at the different groups, right? At all the 12 groups that we have for this World Cup, because remember we have 48 teams playing, and which of these groups is going to really make you have to travel a lot between the different cities, and which ones don't. So that's why I put it as the worst groups, right? So we'll go from worst to best. How about we do that? Okay. Again, based on my opinions. Okay. I'm sure for many of you, the rankings I might have, you might disagree with them. So if you disagree with them, let me know in the comments. Okay. Let me know here on TikTok. Let me know here on YouTube as well. Okay. That way we can all have a very good conversation about these rankings. I don't think I could share it here. I don't have the groups here, and it wouldn't show as well here as well. Chris, thank you for the follow there as well. So again, folks, I'm Travel Football Fan. I'm helping fans save money and travel the 2026 World Cup. If you have not followed me before, please make sure that you're following me here on TikTok or subscribe to my YouTube. I'm also on Instagram. I have my website, travelfootballfan.com. If you want to book a consultation with me to set you up with a customized plan, money and travel for the World Cup, you can book that consultation. I'm also offering travel packages with Absolute Sport that if you just find travel planning stressful, you don't want to deal with that shit, you just want to go ahead, hey yo, book me my hotel, get me my game ticket, y'all take care of it, I just fly down there, then you can go ahead and check out the folks of Absolute Sport. DM me if you want more information on their travel packages. It's not just tickets, it's a full travel package, except for the flights. But again, based on these groups, we might be able to help you out there with your travel planning. Look, I love planning my own travels, but I understand for many of you, it's stressful. So go ahead and check it out as well. DM me for further details again via Instagram or TikTok. First question right off the bat. So is this based by distance or by connectivity? It's a combination. Okay, that's how I would see it. It's a combination there. Jake, thank you for the follow right there on TikTok as well. Really appreciate it. You're trying to do the games in Mexico. Okay, Chris. Well, if you want to join me on YouTube and see the chart, I'll vocalize it, but I do have the chart available here as well. So, but the question here is it based by distance or connectivity? I would say both. Okay, I would say both because sometimes it might be a further distance, but the connectivity is easier, right? So it might depend. Okay, so let's take a look here, and we're gonna again go from worst group, in my opinion, to the best group. Okay, and again, this is just based on my own personal opinions. Do I have a FIFA Collect account? No, I actually do not have a FIFA Collect account. I've actually no, I just have not bought any of those packs. Haven't had a real desire to do so. So, but is there a specific reason why the question? Please let me know. Okay, so in my humble opinion, the worst group to travel for is Group E. And so for those of you on TikTok, if you're watching, it might be helpful to have the schedule in front of you, or join me on my YouTube live stream. But the reason why I picked Group E as the worst group, okay, one out of five soccer balls, is that if you look at these 6 games, you see that 3 of these cities really stretches out the travel. Oh, okay, Christian. Well, thank you for that. You want to gift me some to open live? All right, I'll create a FIFA Collect account, and we can do that. All right, Christian. Well, let's talk later. Let's talk later. I appreciate that. Really appreciate that. All right. So, Group B, in my opinion, is the worst group to travel for this World Cup, because if you look at the setup of the games, match day 1, Philadelphia, Houston. So that group is already, woo! That's already separated quite a bit. That's at least a 2.5-hour flight. Okay? Then the next 2 games are Kansas City and Toronto. Okay? So not knowing which is A4, A1, A2, A3, A4, Group E, E1, E2, E3, E4. Not knowing how they're going to set it up, you might be heading into a situation where if your team falls in Group E and your first game's in Philadelphia, you might be going to either Kansas City, which is a little bit longer, or Toronto. Toronto's obviously the better bet. Okay? Or if you're in Houston, you might be going to Kansas City, which is a little bit closer, or Toronto, which is the further out. Okay? But then, which leads to match day number 2, right? Kansas City, Toronto. So in the best case scenario for this group, you want the teams that played in Philadelphia match day 1 to go fly. Well, no, they can't fly to Toronto because then they would replay again, right? So you want your team to go from Philadelphia to Toronto and then back on match day 3 to Philadelphia. More than likely, that's not going to happen. That would have been a group where maybe the U.S. could have been plugged in for, right? Philly, Kansas City, back to Philly, 2 games in Philadelphia, the vibes of the July 4th, America's 250th, that would have been really helpful for them. I don't see that happening, okay? It could be that then your team goes from Houston to Toronto to New York City. It's a lot of travel there, folks. There's not really a place for you to be centrally located, okay? Dale, Chris, dale. I have no desire to do Group E, and it's still making me anxious just looking at it. Yeah. Absolutely. Because that Group E looks like a nightmare to travel. Okay? It could be Philadelphia, Kansas City, Philadelphia, right? Which would be an easier part to travel in that group. And then it would be Houston. And then it could be Houston, Toronto, New York City. Which then, sure, Game 2, Game 3, it's easier to travel between Toronto and New York City. But something that I really didn't take into account in these scores, but now we have to moving forward, is that now you're having to go USA into Canada, back into the US. And that means there's going to be those agents at the border asking you questions. They might pull you aside for a couple hours, ask you if you hate Trump. And it's just going to be a very unpleasant experience, especially if this is a team like from the Middle East, if it's a team from Europe that really has shown disdain for Trump, let's say a France, right? If they have to go from Philadelphia, Houston to Toronto, and then back to Philadelphia, New York City, those French fans might be harassed at the border. So that's not a lot of fun, right? And again, it does not allow you to put yourself in a central location where then you can go ahead and travel to all these different caves and come back to your base camp. It's not a good geographic pod. You know, we had these discussions, if you've been following me for years, of these pods, right? Are they going to set up the pods for the World Cup? Well, this is the worst one, in my opinion, regarding pods, okay? So, again, for those of you on TikTok not seeing it on YouTube, which I really recommend you check it out on YouTube, because I have this groups in front of me. Group B, in my opinion, the worst group to travel. Match day 1 is Philadelphia or Houston, okay? Match day 2 is Kansas City or Toronto. Match day 3 is Philadelphia, New York. Okay? So if your team plays in Group E, that is going to be a very difficult group to travel, which means if it's more difficult to travel, that also means it's going to be expensive to travel for that group. Any news or hope that Southwest might add any Mexico or Canada destinations? Not that I've seen. Not that I've seen. So yeah, we'll have to wait and see. We'll have to wait and see on that one. Okay. All right, moving on. There is a couple of 2 out of 5 soccer balls that I have determined are the next worst groups to travel. Okay. So let's look at Group C. Okay. I've rated it as a 2 out of 5 soccer balls because the Miami-Atlanta matchday 3 stretches the travel. And, before I go into that Group C, what do you think are the time between games? It looks like it's between 4 to 5 days. So, realistically, yes, you can follow, you will make it to the game on time, right? If you're not, kind of leaving your travel at the last second. I'm talking more about distance, connectivity, price, and now I have to also factor in cross-border. So, these rankings might actually need an update. I might do a live update here as we speak, okay? Because again, of the cross-border, travel that we might need to do, that maybe a lot of fans might want to avoid, okay? But now, the reason why I say that this Group C, is one of the 2 out of the 5 soccer balls that I rated was because the Atlanta-Miami matches might stretch the travel. Or actually, it does stretch travel, right? Because for the match day 1 and 2, fantastic. Fantastic. Okay? Boston, New York City, match day 1. Boston, Philadelphia, match day 2. Fantastic. You could stay in New York, and thank you, Hyman, for the share. You could stay in New York and go to Boston. You can say Boston and you at least get 2 match days right then and there, right? Again, you have following your team, it depends, right? But then it's Atlanta, Miami. So you had a base camp for 2 of the 3 match days, and now you have to move yourself to either Atlanta and Miami. Not saying that's necessarily bad, but again, the whole point of a base camp is to set yourself up in one place and not to then have to worry about getting hotels in another location. Okay? And now with this group, you have to go ahead and do that. You were perfect in the Northeast. You could have been traveling on the Amtrak for both match days, but now you have to then fly to either Atlanta or Miami for these games. Right? So in my opinion, that Miami-Atlanta match day 3 does stretch out the travel. It is not a convenient group to travel in. Well, at least it's definitely much more convenient than Group B. In my opinion, Group B is the worst. Okay, and I'm going to highlight which ones I've covered so far. Okay. Group E, in my opinion, is still the worst because of the 3 different cities that you have to travel. Okay. But then I would say Group C, not really so good because, again, of this final match day here. Let's take a look at Group K. Okay, as the next one. Can you send a link, a read-only version of this sheet? I was thinking about that. Maybe I could share a link. If that'd be great. If you wanna drop a donation as well for it, you can. But no harm, no foul on that as well. But yeah, maybe I do make a link available on my website. And you can go ahead and put it. I'll go ahead and put it there on my website. How about that? I'll go ahead and put it under the FIFA tourneys page, and I'll put a link to this chart right there. Okay. And again, I might update it. I might update some of the scores because, again, I have to consider international travel. Long Island MacArthur Airport in New York offers cheap flights from New York to Miami. All right, that's good to know. Now, do they fly Avelo Airlines? Because, again, folks, I am boycotting Avelo Airlines. They're helping deport people and disappear people away from the United States. So, do not want to support Avelo Airlines. Dale, Papa. Thank you. Russian spy, just follow me. Well, maybe not good, but thank you. You can donate me through Venmo if you want, at Travel Football Fan. I'm on Venmo as well, at Travel Football Fan. So if you want to give me a donation, that'd be great. Again, I have this World Cup groups spreadsheet. I'll put it on my website. But if you want to give me a donation as well for creating this spreadsheet for y'all, Really would appreciate that. You know, whatever you want to give me, a cup of coffee. You know, for $1 for a coffee, that'd be great. So yeah, so you can do me. You can go ahead Venmo then. Appreciate that, y'all. Okay. They do. I believe they just joined the airport. Nah, man. Then screw Avello Airlines. All right. If you're watching and you're from Avello Airlines, do not talk to me. Do not contact me. You want the money? Go get that fascist money. You're deporting innocent people. So, nope, not dealing with y'all. Adios, pues. When did Atlanta the last spot team? That's probably in March when they finish. When they finish the qualifiers. Okay, let's get focused on the groups though. Okay, so again, next group that I would rate a 2 out of 5 soccer balls would be Group K, and yes, it is because of the travel for sure. I actually should include here the travel. Okay, you know what? This group might even be worse than Group E. Now that I'm looking at it, because at least Group E, you stay in the United States. Actually, I'm going to make a refresh here. I'm going to classify Group K as a 1 as well. Okay? It might even be the worst 1 out of 5 soccer balls compared to Group E. Because look what's going on with Group K. Okay? And I'm updating the scores live as we speak. You start in either Ciudad de Mexico or Houston. Then the next, so that's match day 1. Match day 2, Guadalajara or Houston. So more than likely, those two teams that played in Houston, at least one of them is going to Guadalajara. Right? Yeah, they would have to, right? At least one of them has to go to Guadalajara because they can't both play again. So if your team falls to Houston and then has to go to Guadalajara, that's crappy. Because now you have to do the jump to Mexico. Then the last, to match day 2, either Guadalajara or Houston. So it's either match day 1, Ciudad de Mexico, Houston. Match day 2, Guadalajara, Houston. So that's already a lot of, you're crossing borders once already right there. Then match day 3 is Atlanta or Miami. So you're already having to cross the border potentially twice. You know what? This is the worst group now to travel in. Because you're having to cross the border twice. And I am not confident that these CBP agents are going to understand that the reason why you just crossed the border 5 days ago was because you're following your team. I have no confidence in these bums. Okay? So now I think this becomes the worst group. Because you're having to do 2 border crossings. If you're starting in Mexico, you might go to USA, so that might be 1. But if you start in USA, then you have to go to Guadalajara, and then you have to come back to the U.S. So you're hoping that your team plays Ciudad de Mexico, Guadalajara, and either Atlanta or Miami if you land in Group K. If your team lands in the Houston game as their first match, then you have to hope that they stay in Houston, so then that way they don't travel into Mexico, which then would increase the score of this group maybe to 3 even, right? Because then it could be Houston, Miami, Atlanta. That would keep the travel short. Wow, now I really have to change these scores. Because this is the worst one. If your team starts, if your team lands here with this Houston game, and if they have to go to Guadalajara, then you have to come back to the U.S. That's what makes it a 1. If your team goes Mexico, or Ciudad de Mexico, and then either Guadalajara or Houston, that's fine because you're only crossing the border once. So, wow. See the nuances of these groups, folks? This is the nuances of these groups. Literally, the way your team starts could determine how many times you have to cross this border. So, this could be a 1. 1 if basically you start, if Houston, Guadalajara path. But this could also be a 3 if Houston path, right? Because you might potentially stay in Houston for those 2 games and then go to either Atlanta or Miami. Actually, it might even be a 4 in that regard. That is absolutely cynical. Okay? What if I tag along with Mexico? Is it going to be a hassle? I'll get to Mexico in a second. I'm going to talk about the three host nations last. All right, I'll talk about the three host nations last. Okay, but Group K looks like a nightmare if your team lands in that Houston game on match day one, because you're either gonna stay in Houston and then go to Miami or Atlanta, or you have to go to Guadalajara and then come back. In which case, two international crossings already makes it a worse group to travel in. Now, if your team starts in the Ciudad de Mexico game, and then either has to, it doesn't matter because you're gonna either cross the border one time. That's it. You're either gonna go to Guadalajara and then either Atlanta, Miami, or you're gonna go to Houston and then Atlanta, Miami. So the score gets a little bit better there. But this is absolutely crazy with the dynamics within each of these groups. Okay, and I really do think if FIFA was to go back and reset these groups, they would aim to reduce the international border crossings a lot more. Qatar was easier. Of course, Qatar was easier. You didn't have to deal with these international border crossings. The way that that Trump is treating the other two countries. All right. So how to update the score there on that one? That's crazy. That is absolutely crazy. And maybe Group C now becomes more of a category, a 3 out of 5 soccer balls, because that Miami Atlanta kind of seems like a piece of cake compared to what was going on down here. Okay. This group, Group E, I still would rate a 1 out of 5 just because of the distances of all of the cities involved. Okay? There really isn't a lot of 2s, so maybe I might consider this a 2 because you don't have to do international crossings. How about that? I think now Group E is not the worst. I know, we just went, in 10 minutes, folks, we went from Group E being the worst to now Group K being the worst. Again, depending on how you start this group. Okay. So let's take another look. So let's go. Okay. So maybe we go to. Okay, let's go to this group right here because of Guadalajara, Houston. So Group H. Okay. I would say this group looks easy at the beginning, right? You're either Atlanta or Miami. Okay, so that means that one of these teams is going to flip between Atlanta and Miami. Perfect, right? It's not going to be too complicated. You're in the South, under 2-hour flight between the two cities. You could drive. I wouldn't recommend driving through the deep South like that. I would not. Unless you're going in a caravan, don't drive through Georgia, folks. Fly. Okay, fly. Atlanta, Miami, and then gets a little bit complicated because you're either going to either Guadalajara or Houston. So the group does stretch in terms of the travel. But maybe I do rate this. Do I rate this a 2? I feel like I should rate it a 2.5 out of 5 soccer balls. What do you think, chat? Because again, if your team has to then go to Guadalajara, remember Guadalajara doesn't have any more knockout games. They have the 4 group stage games. Then you're definitely going someplace else. If you're going to Houston, you at least don't have to deal with the border crossing. Okay, so this could be a situation where it's a 2 to 3 soccer balls, right? Score, where if your team is going to Guadalajara, it does kind of, make it a situation where you will have to cross the border over there and then have to come back, right? But if your team goes to Houston, then at least your travel was relatively good. It was nice and centered. Maybe I could have made this a 4 out of 5 soccer ball score, but not really the case, right? Because again, you are then having to go from either Atlanta or Miami and then now go to Houston. You might actually even stay in Orlando. This might be one of these groups where you stay in Orlando. You can drive 4 hours south to Miami. You can take a flight to Atlanta, and then you can go either to Houston or Guadalajara. So maybe Orlando becomes a base camp here. You have all the other tourism opportunities there in Orlando as well. So that could be a very cool situation as well there, okay? But again, if your team then has to go to Guadalajara, then you are having to go into international travel and then having to come back into the United States, okay? So that is going to be the concern there. I'll get to questions about tickets and other non-topics related to travel the groups once I'm done reviewing the groups here in a second, all right? Mi gente, si tienen preguntas sobre la boleta de la venta y que si qué vaina, Pues voy a contestar a preguntas ya después que repaso los grupos aquí en YouTube. Aquí estoy vivo en YouTube si quieren ver lo que estoy hablando sobre los grupos aquí. Folks on TikTok, please make sure you're tapping the screen in front of you as well to increase to 1,000 likes. I appreciate all the gifts that I'm getting here, so really, really appreciate it. Seriously, really, really do appreciate it. Here we go. Flash goal. Let's do a flash goal right here on TikTok as well. There we go. There we go. Okay. So, chat, please make sure you're asking questions there as well on YouTube about these groups, some nuances, or give me your thoughts as well. Okay. Now, this group, Group L, I think I'm going to have to mark this a 2. Dallas stretches to travel, and I think there's also international travel here as well with Toronto. So, Group L, you would pretty much start match day 1, either Dallas or Toronto. Match day 2, Toronto, Boston. So yes, it does stretch out the travel. Dallas, that first game in Dallas, does stretch out the travel for you. Okay? So if you're going to be in Dallas for your team, then you have to travel to either Toronto or to Boston. You ideally want to go to Boston to stay in the country, but you might have to then go to Toronto. Okay? You might have to go to Toronto and then either Philadelphia or New York, which is a bit of a hassle there with the international travel. You're having to go to Canada and then come back into the United States. So I think that's why then I'll be confident rating this a 2 out of 5 soccer balls. That initial Dallas game is so weird. Why make this? This could have been an easier group, like, if you might have seen ahead, Group I. This would have been another perfect Group I type of situation. But now, maybe not so much. Okay? Maybe now, not so much. Okay? So, Dallas really makes that group, maybe in the 2 Toronto games, really does reduce the score to a 2 out of 5 soccer balls. Okay? Let's look at group. We're going to say we're going to look at these at the host groups later. Let's look at Group J. I think I'm confident keeping this at 3 out of 5 soccer balls. Yeah, I'm confident keeping this group 3 out of 5 soccer balls because that initial San Francisco game, it does stretch out the travel for the rest of this group. Because again, this could have been a situation where FIFA could have said, why are we putting this one game in San Francisco when we could have just put this all in another central pod, right? A Great Plains type of pod. Because look at the rest of the games. Match day 1, San Francisco, Kansas City. Match day 2, San Francisco, Dallas. So you have 2 games in San Francisco. And then Dallas, Kansas City. So one team is going to have to go from Kansas City to San Francisco and then back Kansas City to San Francisco. Yeah, more than likely one of the teams going to have to go Kansas City, San Francisco, and then back to either Dallas or Kansas City. So that's a little annoying travel. Okay, you could still probably set yourself up somewhere in the middle. Maybe Denver might become a bit of it might be a good base camp, actually, funny enough, because from Denver, right, you can set yourself up in Denver, and if your team has to play in Kansas City and then San Francisco, then you can just go to Kansas City, come back to Denver, Denver to San Francisco, and then come back to Denver, and then go to Kansas City or Dallas from there. Denver might work there. Okay? Chat, let me know if you think otherwise. But it might work. That Denver might become a potential base camp city right then and there. Okay? All right. Maybe now, actually, this group might go down in score here. This might be a 2, but international travel. Group F might be going down in score. I had it a 4 because, yes, geographically speaking, it is very central. Monterrey, Dallas, match day 1. Monterrey, Houston, match day 2. Dallas, Kansas City, match day 3. So technically, it would have been a more compact group to travel because it's all in the central time zone region, around there in that area. But the problem with this group is border crossings. If your team starts in Dallas, you're more than likely one of those teams is going to Monterrey. So that means you're crossing into Mexico and then you have to come back. So that's 2 crossings you have to do. All right. You're hoping that your team goes Dallas, then Houston, and then either back to Dallas or Kansas City. So there's always going to be that one group of fans that are going to get screwed by having to go across the border to Monterrey and then come back in. Or if your team starts in Monterrey, then it's easier because then you're just going them into the U.S. Well, easier, right, with these border agents. And then you go Houston and then Kansas City. You know? So yeah. Getting back here, let me rephrase my question. Hours in between the games. Possibility of making games the same day in Mexico? No, because the only match day in Mexico that has 2 games happening at the same time, one is in Guadalajara, one is in Mexico. So there will be no way for you to be able to travel on the same day to 2 different games happening at the same time in Mexico. There would be no way to pull it off. So yeah, even though we don't have the schedules for it, it would not be possible. I don't think there are 2 games scheduled on the same day. I'll have to look at it. I'll pull up the schedule in a second, okay? And we'll take a look there, okay? But yeah, Group F. I don't like I don't like the fact that you do have to do that international travel for one of those teams. Maybe we'll reduce that to 2 out of 5 soccer balls. Okay. Maybe I have to reduce this group too. Dang it, I do have to reduce this one. Because again, same situation with Monterrey, but this time with Vancouver. Okay? You had Seattle, LA to start. Group G. This is Group G, by the way. Okay? Group G, you start either Seattle or LA, and then you're either going to Vancouver or LA. So, basically, the Seattle game, one of those teams is going to Vancouver, one of those teams is going to Los Angeles, more than likely. So, that means if you're going to Vancouver, you're going to have to do that cross. You know? So, no, they're not scheduling. They have already scheduled the games that are happening in which cities. Those are done. We obviously don't know the teams, okay? But we can see how some of these teams might have to travel, okay? So for that team that starts in Group G in Seattle, you're going to either Vancouver or LA. So if you're going to Vancouver, that means you have to cross the border. And then you might stay in Vancouver, which might be helpful, or you're coming back to Seattle. So you rather do Seattle, Vancouver, Vancouver. Hopefully that's how it pans out. Because then the other team could go LA, Seattle. But again, both teams can play in LA. So one of those teams, 2 of the 4 teams involved in match day 1 is going to have to play in Vancouver. So that means 2 of those fan bases now are going to have to travel to Vancouver. And then get back in, right? Or at least one of those other fan bases has to then do the border crossing twice. So that's not going to be convenient. This might even go down to 1. Jeez. You know what? There's so many caveats now to this schedule. Again, because unfortunately of the Trump policies, you're going to have to be ready for these types of things, okay? Now, the group that I had the best group to travel might still be Group I because it's New York, Boston, then Philadelphia, New York, and then Toronto, Boston. So again, that Toronto game, right? There's that international travel component to it. So I'm still going to classify it as a 5 still. Well, actually, no, I can't do that. Now the best group becomes the USA group. You know? Northeast, but international travel. Because that Toronto group kind of then forces you to go out, right? If your team has to go out to play in Toronto. But now, the best group now, I have to say, is, unfortunately, USA. I didn't have the U.S. as the best group, but now that makes sense with what's going on right now. Okay? The best group now to travel would be Group D. So now we're going to review the 3 host countries' groups. So, the best group is the U.S. group. The best group is the U.S. group for fans. Because you're going to stay in the U.S., 1. Match day 1 is LA, Vancouver. Oh, excuse me. It might not be the best group. Oh, my goodness. It might still be the best group. Because then if you're starting Vancouver, you're going to at least just go into the U.S., you're fine. Because then if you play the U.S., LA, and you're playing the Vancouver, then you're definitely guaranteed to either play Seattle or San Francisco, and then San Francisco, LA. So this might still be the best group. But international travel. Okay. I'm going to have to revise these scores. I might have to revise these scores, man. Because that Vancouver game does add some nuance to this. Okay? This does add some nuance to this. So maybe it's a little bit better. This is so wild. I'm going to have to like really update these scores and really think about it. But basically, the score is going to be dependent on where your team lands. Your team might have a rather easy path within the group, or if it doesn't, then it might have to travel, across the border twice in some situations. So that's Group D, the U.S. group. Group B, you start, and of course, the ones highlighted here are the Canada games, right? So it's Toronto, Vancouver, Vancouver. The other two teams have to start in San Francisco, and then one of them is going to Vancouver, one of them is going to Los Angeles, and then the final two games are Vancouver and Seattle. So Canada's going to stay, obviously, in Vancouver. So then that other team that played Vancouver on match day 2, okay, is now having to travel to Seattle. So, yes, Toronto does stretch the travel for this group, but this might get reduced down to a 2 because of the international border crossing. I'm gonna have to revise these scores. Again, because of the problems with the border agents and whatnot. Okay? Now let's look at Group A, Mexico's group. You have Guadalajara and Ciudad de Mexico happening on the same day. Okay? Then it's Guadalajara and Atlanta, which actually they should really make this into a 2, to be completely honest. Okay? Atlanta really stretches that group out. And it's really kind of a cheat code for Mexico, if you think about it. Because then now Mexico, say the team that plays Mexico first, they have to go to Atlanta. Right? This World Cup is more confusing than taxes. I agree. They could have made these groups a lot easier. Remember, we spent almost like a whole year talking about they got to make these groups into pods. They got to make them into pods. They really didn't do that. And now FIFA really cornered itself with these international crossings. So now they just made it more complicated for themselves. But let me finish Group A here. Guadalajara, Ciudad de Mexico, match day 1. Match day 2, Guadalajara, Atlanta. Match day 3, Ciudad de Mexico, Monterrey. So, of course, Mexico's got the advantages of the 3 home games, right? But, yeah, the other 1 or 2 teams that have to go through Atlanta, totally screwed, to say the least. This is really a cheat code for Mexico. Like, if Mexico does not make the quarterfinals with this much setup for them, or finish first in their group, and then have 2 more Estadio Azteca matches, like, it could not be more set up for Mexico. Okay? Where can we see this information? I'm going to make this link available on my website. Okay, under FIFA tournaments. If you want to donate me a cup of coffee for this spreadsheet, I would really appreciate it. You can Venmo me directly at Travel Football Fan. Venmo me $1 or whatever you want. Venmo me a cup of coffee. I would really appreciate it. All right. So I'll make that available on my website. I'm gonna make it a donation. Okay. If you want to donate me something, go for it. Okay. So let me get to the questions on tickets in a minute here. Let me wrap up here on these groups. But as you can see, folks, where your team lands, and not even like just in the group, where your team lands, either the 1, the 2, the 3, or 4, is going to so impact the amount of travel that you are going to do for this World Cup. It's going to definitely impact it. Definitely impact it. Because it is going to be insane. The travel for this World Cup has now gotten even crazier because of these nuances. Again, folks, I don't think it's off crazy to say, had Kamala Harris won the presidency, I would not be talking about, the CBP agents at the border might not let you into the country because you don't like her. You see what I'm saying? This is the problem of having Trump as president. That now we're having to deal with how many times we have to cross the border between the countries to go follow our team before ICE or CBP thinks that we're like trying to smuggle things in. Like, that's the stupidity of this entire situation. So if you haven't really thought about this, okay, where your team could potentially land in the World Cup, this is it. This is the matrix for it. Based on where your team lands, 1, 2, 3, 4 in that group could determine whether you are crossing the border multiple times. That is the fine margins that this World Cup draw will have in December. It's not so much which group you land in, it's where in that group you land in. That is going to have a massive impact on where you are traveling, which is why you really need to think about, or rather, first off, the 24 hours after the draw happens, you need to book your travel. If you need to request the day after off, do so, because you're gonna need to make sure that you book all your travel as soon as possible, because this is going to be very, very, very crazy. Okay, how much do I think the first match is going to be, folks? At minimum $1,500, just double the amount that was on the 2018 bid book price sheet. Okay, on that note, questions on the groups, YouTube, questions on the groups, comments, feedback. What are your thoughts? Drop them. Let's answer other questions regarding tickets and everything. Hey, if Chick-fil-A is watching, hey, yo, Chick-fil-A, if you want to go ahead and sponsor the Travel Football Fan Show, I would really appreciate it. We big fans, fam. I'm even more than happy to share the order that I make, so that way we can make it like a Travel Football Fan Special or something, you know? I'm just saying, Chick-fil-A, we can synergy right here. The Travel Football Fan Show, sponsored by. It'd be nice, Chick-fil-A. Let's do it. You can send the nugs all the time. Send the chicken nuggets. Worth doing Airbnb renting out home from now until 26, maybe. Just charge people fair prices. You think Colombia's going far? Yes, I think semifinals. Which country do you think will have the better teams? The U.S. is going to have the most games, so it's going to end up being the U.S. Have you seen those emails they sent out for the hospitality packages? Unless you're referring to any other new emails, then no. But I've seen them all. Preguntas, YouTube. ¿Qué me dicen? ¿Qué me dicen de los grupos? I'm gonna post this list of groups. On my website under FIFA Tourneys. I would appreciate a donation on Venmo. I'll list my Venmo right there. Whatever you want to donate. A cup of coffee would be great, folks. Speaking of coffee, I probably should make my second cup for the day. So if you want to donate me a cup of coffee, I really would appreciate it. I would totally appreciate it. And we're about to hit the first YouTube watch hours goal, too, of 3,000 watch hours. So hopefully you can do that this week. Starbucks or Dunkin'? Nah, Starbucks. If I had to pick one or the other, Starbucks, I prefer local coffee. Support your local coffee shops. But if you had to give me one or the other, but it's a Starbucks, But I don't like Dunkin' Donuts, man. Dunkin' Donuts, that coffee's water. I might have just shot my deal with Dunkin' Donuts, but that's fine. I don't like Dunkin' Donuts. YouTube or TikTok better? YouTube has been growing a lot better for me recently than TikTok. A lot better. Yo, my hair is curly as hell. And I got no practice today, boys and ladies. I got no practice. No practice tonight because the rain is bad out here. So, yeah. Make your own cafe. Oh, yeah, I sometimes do that. Get used to drinking that Mexican coffee Monterrey, compa. Hey, I'm looking forward to it. Fam. I'm looking forward to it. Yeah, I probably should make myself. I could do a cafe olla, but we got an espresso machine, so, we fancy in here. Dale, YouTube, ¿qué preguntas tienen? What kind of tickets do you plan on getting? Maybe one of those games might be cheap, and then the other one, I really want to make it expensive. I work at AT&T and had a customer talk about you. No shit, that's real. Really? There's no way a customer was talking about me. Hey, get AT&T to sponsor me. Right now I'm with T-Mobile, but do you think it's worth to buy the Follow My Team tickets? If that's what you want to do, dale pues, colombianos. If you want to follow your team, then follow your team, I think because of the way FIFA wants to sell the tickets this year, I don't think there's going to be a lot of single game tickets left. in 2026 because that's why they want to do it. Okay. When do I think they go on sale? They go on sale October to December, based on the new information we got. October to December, but as packages, not as single game tickets. Have you done this for the Club World Cup also? No, I have not actually. I've not done this for the Club World Cup, in part because I felt the travel. I feel like you shouldn't spend your time traveling the Club World Cup, but maybe I should just do it positive. So in that way, the information is there for fans. So yeah. Emily, thank you for the follow. Appreciate it. Will it cost more if I wait for the group stages to be made? Not necessarily. If you want to follow a specific team, then I would follow the specific team. Single game tickets aren't reserved as a section. Again, we don't know what that process is going to look like. Saludos. I get to watch Messi once again tomorrow in San Jose. Dale. Dale. Oh, yeah. Listen. Seeing Messi play in person, man, like, I can tell why they say he's the best player in the world. I mean, like, golly. That guy, like, it was fantastic, man. That was a fantastic experience. Do you think the price might vary where you sit in the stadium? That's why there's category 1, 2, and 3. But positive. Let me create that chart for the Club World Cup, because if fans are going to watch it, then I'll do it. I'm leaning on staying local here in LA. Traveling increases cost significantly. Yes, it does, Carlos. Yes, it does. So for many of you, it might be attractive to stay in your city, just buy the Follow Your Venue series, and you go from there. So what do I think of Group A for Mexico? Para Mexico, genial. A little weird they ain't playing in Monterrey, though. Not gonna lie to you. It's a little weird. Pero genial para México. O sea, si México no sale primero su grupo, la cagaron. T, thank you for the follow there on TikTok. Really appreciate it, folks. Again, tap the screen in front of you. Let's get to 1,000 likes right here. What's going on here, TikTok? Let's go. Share the live. I see one share. Only one. Come on now. And follow me if you haven't. And, of course, if you're watching on YouTube, subscribe. Click like, because it's important for the algorithm. And click on the bell button so you're notified when I do these lives. I'm trying to do these radio show style lives every afternoon. Thursdays, I might have to do it a little bit later in the day, but we'll see what happens from there. So yeah, I got the Seattle packet for the Club World Cup, 2 Club World Cup games, and the right to buy a World Cup ticket. Dale, Emiliano, let me know more if you really like that pack or not. South Brazil, Colombia, Copa America, Colombia fans went local. Of course, yeah, we go local for sure. So Oscar, I think there's a perfect group for Mexico. They gotta finish first. If they don't finish first, I mean, you missed out on 2 knockout games at Azteca. Boy, what a miss. So you definitely can't buy Follow My Team past the first knockout round. That is correct. That is the case for the hospitality packages. That is more likely going to be the case for the regular tickets. LA is bound to have some good games either way. Correct. They have the 2 USA games, and they're bound to have others. I think they have 7 total games, if I'm not mistaken. Nalini, thank you for the share. So, yeah. Yeah. I was one that bought an RTB package and the tickets were cheaper through FIFA than Ticketmaster. Imagínate. For the Club World Cup. Imagínate. The whole FIFA collecting, look, like I said, some people have had success with it, others haven't. It is a buyer beware. But it is crazy that some of you have had success better doing that than just buying the ticket. I will say that is somewhat gamification of buying tickets. And I mean, there's one, you could describe it as predatory. You could describe it as, well, it is what it is of the times. But I think it does create mixed feelings around that, to say the least. Other questions regarding the groups. TikTok, I know you're not watching on YouTube, but if you have other questions regarding the groups, let me know here in the chat. Should I buy the Dallas pack? Again, what pack is that specifically? You got to be careful what the pack gives you. You got to be careful about if it's making you go to those Club World Cup games, and you have to be careful about meeting any of the other requirements. So just, I can't say yes or no, but just be mindful of all of those caveats before you purchase through the FIFA Collect. Okay? I know for sure here, at least, I have to change the scores on these groups. So what's the worst group to travel just got here? I would say Group K. But again, there's so many other groups here that based on where you land within the group, whether you're A1, A2, A3, A4, as an example, it could impact how much travel you have to do. It really could impact it. You know, yeah, you gotta read through the fine print of those FIFA collect packs, because you don't want to make sure that maybe you had to go to the Club World Cup game and you didn't, and then FIFA's gonna say, well, we're not giving you the RTB. Because part of the whole strategy that FIFA's doing with these collect packs is that they want to make sure that people go to those games, because they want to sell the Club World Cup as a spectacle that people did come to see, and by extension, people paid money for. The ticket price averages, fam? What you're seeing right now in terms of Club World Cup ticket prices might be the same, if not higher, for the World Cup. It ain't gonna get any cheaper than that. Your scores are 1 to worst, 5 to best. Correct. And even then, I might have to redo this. I might have to redo the scoring, Tony, because I'm trying to take into account how many times a team might have to travel back and forth between borders, which means the fans having to travel back and forth. So if we look as an example, right, as I said here, Group K, right, if your team is K3, for example, K3, you play that first game in Houston. If you have to go to Guadalajara, that's already a 1 border crossing, and then you have to come back into the U.S. That's 2 border crossings. I would say that negatively impacts your travel, because then A, you can't stay at base camp. 2, you have to cross the border twice, and so that's gonna be like one of those, like, how annoying are those CBB agents going to be at the airports? How annoying are they gonna be? Are they gonna act all stupid and say, well, I don't know what the World Cup is happening, let's take you inside and detain you for 2 hours and ask if you like Trump or not? Like, we don't know how much of that's gonna happen. Okay? So it could also be that maybe it is a good path for you if your team stays Houston, and then either Atlanta or Miami. Then it's a perfect group to travel. So you see, even the nuances within the groups is definitely impacting the amount of travel that you might have to do for the World Cup. So I might have to redo the scores here. Which groups would you personally recommend to follow? I would personally recommend following. What I had was the best group was Group I. This one: New York City, Boston, match day 1; Philly, New York City, match day 2; and then Toronto, Boston, match day 3. Yes, the Toronto game forces you to go to Canada, potentially come back. Okay, that is true, but at least that group. Say, for example, Elizabeth, New Jersey, which shout outs to Elizabeth, New Jersy. They're definitely going to be, that's how they're trying to get fans to stay in Elizabeth, New Jersey. They're like, yo, if your team plays in Group I, for example, you're within a 2-hour travel distance from places like Elizabeth, New Jersey. So make your base camp in Elizabeth, New Jersey, and now you can go either by Amtrak or by flight time to any of these games in Group I. So for me, it's Group I still. It's still the best group, but just Toronto makes that, travel there. Similarly, Group D, because of Vancouver, makes it an international travel. So even Group D is a little bit further, though, because those are flights between those cities, right? Those are flights guaranteed, right? Between Seattle, LA, San Francisco, those are flights. Whereas in Group I, you can get the Amtrak. And I find the Amtrak to be easier. Good or bad to travel international for Bad Bunny? Always good. Always good to travel international for Bad Bunny. Dollar Bad Bunny. I try to buy rights to buys, but they only accept crypto. That is correct, Danielle. They only accept crypto, so you gotta get some crypto to buy those packs. That's kind of also the weird part of it too. I'm not comfortable with crypto, so that's why I'm not purchase those packs. People will be rich if they dead ass coming to catch all the group games. It's possible though. Again, folks, I am not sponsored by Chick-fil-A, but if Chick-fil-A, you watching Chick-fil-A, you could be sponsoring the Travel Football Fan Show. So, hey, I'm trying to get that money, folks. I'm sorry. All right. Want to be Colombian? Nah, bro, I am Colombian. I'm sorry that I don't fit your typical, image of Colombia. Look at this clown over here. All right, what other questions we got? What other questions we got regarding the groups? Regarding the groups or tickets at this point. It is 12 groups of 4. That is correct. It is 12 groups of 4 teams in each group. The top 2 advance, and then the top 8 of the third places go through the next round. That's how it's going to be. That's why there's that weird, funky situation where the USA could play in Philadelphia for the July 4th game, but they have to be the right third place team, and the math has to math somehow in order for them to make it to that group. Looking at the schedule, group games are like a week apart. That is correct. Actually, sorry, Chris. I did say I was going to do that for you. Let's take a look. Let's take a look at the World Cup schedule. But correct, or just bottom the group. True, that too. So, folks, I think it is important to look at the group, at the schedule of the group, because that way you see that for some of these cities and for some of these regions, the games are going to be several, like five-ish or 6 days apart. Okay. Why am I not being able to click on that schedule? Okay, I'm going to have to check out a different link here. Sorry, folks, as we go ahead and try to find the best website possible in order to get this calendar up and going. Here we go. I think this one might be the best one here, too. Excuse me. Let's do that. Here we go. Okay, there we go. Perfect. So, so para Mexico, since you asked about Mexico, you see that Guadalajara, Mexico City, same day. I think the only other one is this one right here. There we go. So Mexico, Guadalajara, and Monterrey play same day here, but expect the Monterrey game to be more earlier in the day, and then the Mexico City one to be more of a primetime game. But other than that, you see that by going to Mexico, yes, you're going to have a better time more than likely in Mexico, but then you're really missing out on potentially seeing more games. But then, if you want to see more games, that means you're going to be jumping back and forth between the borders. And again, I do not know, and nor do I trust, how these CPP agents are going to be, how are they going to be treating the fans going back and forth. ¿Qué es lo que estoy viendo? Pues yo estaba dando un análisis de los grupos y cuáles de los grupos van a ser los peores para viajar como fanático y cuáles grupos serían mejor. Lo que sí vimos es que depende de donde queda tu equipo, pueda que tu equipo no tenga que viajar tanto, pero en otras partes del mismo grupo de pronto te toca viajar más. Yo voy a hacer voy a poner ese análisis de los grupos que hice yo en mi sitio web en travelfootballfan.com y lo voy a poner ahí bajo FIFA Attorneys. Y si me quieren dar una donación, $1, lo que sea, para un cafecito, pues con gusto. Ahí dejo mi Venmo ahí también. Okay? You should use the schedule with the color coding for the groups. Maybe I should. Well, what do you mean? You should use the schedule with the color coding of the groups. Oh, you mean with the different colors? Oh, I would have to. Oh, I think I know what you're talking about. Hold on. I think I know what you're talking about. You're talking about this one. Yeah, I think this was the one you're talking about. Yeah, I think this is the one you're talking about right here. You know what? I'm gonna save this image myself. World Cup schedule. How about that? Okay, there we go. Okay, I think this. Yeah, you're right. This does give you a better better look. And let me go ahead and adjust my screen right here. There we go. Is that good, Stefan? I think that's good. I think that's a good look. That's a good look on your part. This allows you to visualize the groups a lot better. I agree. So you see Group A, that's Group A right there. You see that random Atlanta match down here, and you go do that, Como pinta para nosotros, pues estamos bien, Colombia está bien. Pero, o sea, no vamos a ver dónde vamos a estar, en qué ciudad aquí en el Mundial, sino hasta más tarde, no este año. But yeah. So, I'm showing you here the color-coded schedule of the groups. I'm going to put this up on my website as well. If I haven't posted this picture up yet, I'll put that up on their Travel Football Fan on their FIFA Attorneys. Yep. Now, I figured you like this map better. But as you can see, some of these groups, you see Group A, right? You see Group A right here in the green. Boom, 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 boom. And then that random ass game in Atlanta. Like, it's just not helpful. FIFA had all this time. I could have grouped those groups so much better for them. They were not watching my content before, folks, but now they might be. Actually, I know they are now. They're definitely watching my content now, folks. They could have grouped these things so much better. I don't understand. I don't understand. Um, what is that? Is that group I? You see that group I right there, right? You see that group I right there, that purple. That's why I love that group I. That's why I thought it's still the best travel group, even with the Toronto travel right there. I love it. Or groups D, Group D for the USA. Yeah, it has that one game in Vancouver, but other than that, perfect, nice and compact. So it's just like, ah. Do you think the media is putting out the bid book prices to later to put FIFA on blast? Jorge, very good question. The problem, maybe not the problem. If that's what the media intended, they're presenting the information so bad because, as you saw over the weekend, right? All these social media groups and all these social media accounts are saying, "Oh, the tickets are going to average $305." No, they're not. That's not what the Athletics said. The Athletics said in the 2018 bid book, they said it would average $305, but no one is saying that it will average $305. So, Jorge, if that's what the media is doing to put pressure on FIFA to make sure the tickets are low, they're doing a very bad job at it. You should talk about the pots. Based on FIFA rankings, would determine which teams could play against each other. I could. Maybe I'll do that later in the year, Daniel, ya cuando se termina las eliminatorias, when the World Cup qualifiers are over. That way, I think we have a much better understanding of who might be the heads of the group. That makes sense? I think that might make more sense for me to do that later. Because I don't even know who's in the top 10 of the groups right now. So, yeah. Yeah. I think that's what I would like to do. Is potential Group C, could Group C be Argentina? Group C could be Argentina, right? I mean, if they still finish, if they still finish for first place, right? Could be Group C, right? Which then Group C is Boston, New York, and then Boston, Philly, and then Atlanta, Miami. It's not a bad group for Argentina fans. They've traveled that before with experience with Copa America. It's all a business at the end of the day. Will they make it more affordable? Do they care? I doubt it. I agree with you. I don't think they're going to make it much more affordable. If you've seen how much resistance they've had to not reduce the prices for the Club World Cup tickets, they're probably not going to do that same for the World Cup. They're probably not going to do that, folks. Not at all. But Daniel, that's a pretty good question, though. I should do analysis of the pots, but let me do that later in the year. Once we know exactly who's in, who's out, we'll go from there. But yeah, could Argentina be Group C? I mean, Argentina could be Group C if they still finish first in the rankings, right? Are they first in the rankings right now? Can anyone check that? Can anyone go ahead and check that for me, please? If Argentina is still first in the group rankings, then they could be that, right? Again, I think I still stick with my analysis that Group K and Group K and Group E are not as good, if I'm not mistaken. Just because again of the number of times you have to cross the border. But I think more important for the rest of us that maybe I don't have a team in the top 10, it's going to be where in that group you're being placed and what is the schedule, what is the running of the schedule that's gonna force it. Yeah, Argentina's first. Yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah. So maybe Argentina falls into Group C, folks. I might make that first prediction. It could be Group C, and I think that would actually work for FIFA too. Boston, New York, match day 1. Boston, Philly, match day 2. Atlanta, Miami, match day 3. Works for Argentina. I think that works for them. Like, straight up. Diego, you got the rankings right there with you? How do you buy individual tickets for the World Cup, folks? According to Peter Tomozawa, the CEO of the Seattle local organizing committee, he said the single game tickets will be on sale beginning of 2026. But don't expect too many tickets, at least in my opinion, because the rest of those tickets are going to be sold as packages. So more than likely, we're going to be entering the new year with potentially a lot of these tickets haven't been sold as packages. So the number of individual tickets being available by 2026 might be minimal. It might be minimal. Jose, thank you for the follow. And thank you, folks, for getting us to over 2,000 likes. Nice. Thank you. Folks on TikTok, if you're not following me, please make sure to follow me. Folks on YouTube, if you have not subscribed to my YouTube channel, please do so. Like the live as well. Make sure you click on the bell button. Share it as well. Even though we're about to wrap up, that way we can make sure we keep these lives under about an hour. That way folks can go back and watch it. That'd be great. But yeah, as you can see in the schedule right in front of you, folks, it's important to think about how your team might have to travel this World Cup based on where they land within the group. 1, 2, 3, or 4. They might have to travel a lot, or they might not have to travel as much. It is crazy. I really wish FIFA would have maybe simplified some of these groups. Like, for example, Group I in the purple right here. Nice and simple. Or Group D. Nice and simple. But some of these groups are really batshit crazy. They really are batshit crazy. I think Group K was the one that was the craziest. And that is in this color right here. You see Group K right here. Group K. Really, really crazy to say the least. I heard that they will only allow one transfer after a ticket gets purchased. Henry, that is correct. They're only allowing one transfer. So that means you better make sure you don't transfer twice or that ticket gets voided. So that's how they're going to control the resales, which in a way, good. Good that they're controlling the resales, folks. That way we're not going to see these crazy prices on the resale, on the third-party resale markets. But it is a little bit crazy because that means you got to know exactly how many tickets you're getting and how many tickets you're going to give to your family members. And they better not trade it or else they owe you the money or they ain't going to the game. It's as simple as that. So everyone's got to know that you can only transfer this ticket once. And if you're receiving a ticket, do not transfer that damn ticket again or else you're kind of SOL at that point. So yeah, it's going to be important to make sure that we share that information with everyone throughout the World Cup. I mean, throughout this entire process, right? How many days we got left? We got like 390 something days left to go, folks. So it's about to be a year to go. I'm trying to be excited about it. I'm trying to be really excited about the Mexico and Canada portion of it. Maybe some cities within the U.S. But I know it's difficult, with everything that's going on. But I'm trying to be excited, at least for Mexico, at least for Canada, and some cities in the U.S. at least. Let's just see what happens. Hopefully the situation gets better, and if it doesn't get better, we're gonna all talk about how we can navigate the situation as it is at this time. So yeah, final questions, folks. Final questions. I think we could wrap it up here, unless we had some other stuff we want to talk about. Let me know in the comments. Ask your questions. Let's wrap this up in the next 7 minutes, around there. I'll give another 5-7 minutes. Will they be giving physical tickets? Not that I know of, but I'll let you know if I find out of anything. Absolutely. I would love to have the physical tickets as well. I think it's a really nice memento to keep. I still have mine from Qatar for the game that I went there with Brazil, South Korea. So, yeah. The last time Brazil played Jogo Bonito, which, by the way, kudos that they got Ancelotti. I don't think that does anything for them to win the World Cup next summer. They might win a game because of Ancelotti's tactics, but I don't see them going past. Honestly, I don't see them past going round of 16. To be completely honest, I either they lose out round of 16 or lose out quarterfinals. They ain't getting nowhere close to that trophy. But I think Ancelotti will get them one win because of his tactics and coaching and stuff. For sure. But yeah, other questions, folks. Let's do a quick run through. Next 5 minutes or so, 4-7 minutes. Look, yeah. Happy to answer any final questions regarding the groups, regarding tickets, regarding anything else. Who has the best chance? I mean, it's Argentina or France till further notice. Argentina or France until further notice to win the World Cup. It could be a dynasty. It could be dynasty moments, folks. I think we're going to see a dynasty. Either the French build a dynasty or the Argentinians build a dynasty. So, yeah. What do you think of the new USA Heartbeat kits? They took out new kits? I'll have to check them out. But let me get back to you on that one, Trumpet. I'm going to have to get back to you on that one because I haven't seen those new kits yet. Well, the weather's cruddy, but I don't have to work tonight. I don't have to coach tonight, so I guess a little bit of a good break for me. I probably will spend some time playing some Call of Duty. Let me go ahead and put the group analysis schedule up on my website. Again, I'm gonna put it up on my website, travelfootballfan.com. Okay, and then it's gonna be under FIFA tourneys. Feel free to donate me a cup of coffee if you like. Okay. When am I going to Monterrey? Next month, folks. I'm going to Monterrey next month. I am officially collaborating with the Monterrey Local Organizing Committee for the 2026 World Cup to bring you exclusive content on Monterrey's preparations for the World Cup. Super excited to be collaborating on an official scale with the Monterrey local organizing committee. So can't wait to bring you that content. I'm also going to Colombia next month. Colombia contra Peru, as part of my work with Absolute Sport. Going to go there to experience the vibes in Barranquilla live on the ground. So if you're going to be there as well, please hit me up. I have not seen the video yet by the RTB by FIFA Colette. Yeah, I have not seen it yet. I haven't even joined the Discord yet, so I have to join the Discord still. Peru 1-0 with faith. No, hermano, don't ruin my day now. Any chance coming to LA? Not anytime soon, but I'll let folks know. Angel, we don't know how the lottery system is going to work, actually, because we don't even know if there is going to be a lottery system. USA, Canada, Mexico, along with the 9 highest ranked teams, will be in pot 1. Correct. The 9 teams will be randomly drawn in a group. So Argentina could be first and still be in Group L, for example. Okay. So they could still be Group L. What is Group L? So let's just say if they are Group L. Well, Group L still kind of works out for them, unless they start in Dallas. No, they'd rather put... if they had any power in the world to put Argentina in Dallas, they would, instead of Toronto. Not going to lie to you. And then it's still relatively easy for the Argentinos to travel. Relatively easy. So, yeah. I know Gianni's going to be like, must have some zappy thing in the balls to be like, yo, no, that's Toronto. No, don't do Toronto. Yo, right. You imagine Argentina playing in Toronto, bro? Like, compared to Dallas? Oh, man, that would have been wild. That would have been absolutely wild, fam. So, yeah. But it's a good analysis there, Daniel. I really appreciate that. Seriously. Really, really appreciate it. This is why this radio show format works. And it's been working for the last couple of weeks. We get to interact. We get to ask questions. Bring up other pieces of information that we all might have missed. It's really, really good. So, again, folks, if you're interested in this World Cup spreadsheet that I created of my analysis of the groups, just breaking down which cities, are within each group to expect, I'll post this up on my website, travelfootballfan.com, under FIFA Tourneys. Feel free to donate me a cup of coffee for doing this work for y'all. I might have to redo the scores, or maybe I just keep the scores in and you let me know what you think about the scores themselves. So, yeah. I hope Colombia falls in the Dallas Stadium group, also Portugal. Well, I mean, Dallas is in a bunch of different groups. So you can take a look at my spreadsheet and let me know which one you would prefer. But remember, it could also mean that Colombia falls A3 and then might have not A3, but say, for example, with Dallas, Group L, they might, or not Group L, where do they play Dallas more? Group J, they might have to travel back and forth between San Francisco and Dallas. And so, again, how much travel are you going to be doing? Am I going to the Club World Cup? I might go to a game or two here in DC. I haven't even really bought tickets yet. I might just do that last minute, folks. Not going to lie to you. I might do last minute Club World Cup. Unless somebody invites me, we'll see what happens. But yeah, I'm not really trying to spend a lot of money there. I actually haven't really been able to save a lot of money in my travels as much as you might think that I've been hitting marks on money. I have not. Only have about $1,000 saved. I might get that $1,000 back from On Location, because I don't know how much they're going to sell these hospitality tickets. It might be too much money at that point. So, yeah, buddy. I might not be able to do hospitality this World Cup. Maybe I'll do it next World Cup. We'll have to wait and see. We will have to wait and see. Man, my hair is wild. I put that hat on because my curls, especially on TikTok, is wild. I don't know if you see it, YouTube, but the curls are insane. All right, let's wrap this up then. Minute and a half. Rapid fire questions. Again, make sure you're following me and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Like the live. Click on the bell button to be notified. Make sure you're following me. I'm saving my Afterpay, Klarna, and Affirm for World Cup. They might not even accept that. They might not even accept that, folks. Make sure you follow me across those socials. Again, I have my newsletter as well. You can sign up for it on my website. I throw in there extra money and travel articles, extra World Cup news that I don't cover on my regular content. That I'm just like, you know what? This is only gonna get 500 views. Here it is. I'll pop it on the newsletter. If you want more information about the travel packages that I am offering with Absolute Sport for not only just next summer, but for other sporting events, please hit me up. DM me on either Instagram or TikTok with your email. Let me know if you want to follow a specific team. Let me know if you want to go to the final, and now we can hook you up with that information. Again, I am earning a commission off of the sales with these travel packages with Absolute Sport. A great way to support my work, that is for sure. And again, a fantastic way to experience, and next summer all these other tournaments. So yeah, go ahead and message me there. I didn't reply. Well, send me another DM, and I might and I'll make sure I don't miss it there. Again, we're mostly focusing on CONMEBOL teams right now and some European, but mostly those for now. So yeah, but okay, folks. All right, perfect. I think we'll wrap it up here. Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it. I'll see y'all the next time.